Affinity 3 comes with lots of great features, and stroke and mesh are great new features that you can use with Affinity 3. So I'm going to show you how to use them PC and Mac. I'm going to start with a line, very basic line here. So pen tool, select that, click the document and click again, just down the bottom there, and hold down the shift so you get a straight line. What you can now do is you can go here to the fill tool. So just go to the fill tool and you can see you've got here type and a context. By default it goes to fill. I don't want that. I want stroke. So go with stroke. And now I can go here and I can set that to mesh. Now you'll notice you get this mesh applied to your stroke. Now at this point you can't see it, but I will show you how to do that in a sec. However, view and context toolbar if you can't see that. So show there. Now I would suggest go to the swatches, and you can then, with the fill tool selected, you can change the color here. So I'm just going to select these there, and you can select them multiple as well, but I'm just going to select them individually and I'm going to change the colors. So now I've got that. At this point, you still can't see anything, which is not very useful. So I'm just going to go up here to the move tool, and you can see the size is not great, 0.24. Well, I'm just going to push this up so you can actually eventually see it. Let's just go over here again, back to the actual fill tool, and you'll notice it puts it back to fill. It always does that. So put it back to stroke and you can see you've got your mesh there again. And what you can do, you can then click on that. And this time, instead of just keeping it in that sort of straight line, no, I can move this. You can see I move it, and now you can actually see the mesh for the stroke. And again, I can select that one and I can drag this out. And I can click and drag this out. Now, I would love Affinity to add some presets so you could actually just store this, so you could just rapidly do it. Unfortunately, there is no option for that in Affinity 3 at present. But you can just drag this out, and you can click this one down here and drag this out, and you can go down there, and you can see, you can actually see now your mesh. It's your just basic standard mesh applied to a stroke. And of course you can manipulate these as well. You can just drag this down, and now you'll see you've got this lovely curve there. And I'm just going to drag this one down a bit further, and likewise above, and you can see the whole thing now. And that is your stroke applied with that mesh, and you can manipulate it further. You decide you don't want these colors, you want to change them. Well, you can simply click here with that selected, and again make certain it's the fill tool there. You can just change the colors here, and some will have an impact, but obviously because of the position, that actually doesn't have any effect. Probably more likely something like that. So blue, you can see that changes it, but not that particular one. And you can go down here, you can see the orange there. Clearly that's an influence. So you can again use that. So green, or maybe go with orange, whatever, whole range of different colors. And let's just go and change that to orange as well. You can also add additional. So just hover there, you can see then, double click, and you can add additional point, and then you can just click there and you can got a green, and you can go down here, click there, and now sometimes the result may not have any actual effect. It does require a little bit of trial and error to see, especially when it gets a more complex mesh design. That's why it would be great if there were some presets so you could actually set up a structure that you could use straight away. I extended out beyond the limit of the stroke. Okay, so you got that. What else can you do? Well, you can manipulate the actual stroke as well. So you can give dashes and gaps to it as well. To add some dashes and all those sorts of things and spaces, what you can do, go to the move tool, and you go down here and you see line here. You can just go here and just click this, edit stroke settings. So just click that, and you can then modify the size. Let's just modify the size, make it smaller, bigger. Now, if you extend it, you'll get, if I put it, so let's put it to 300. You can see what happens. It goes a bit weird. So there are limitations of this, the way it works. So I'm just going to put it to, say, 60. So you can see it's within that mesh, so it doesn't start to look pretty odd, but you can still manipulate it. You just have to go and change the mesh again. But what you can do, you can see you've got a cap here. You can just click here, and you can see that results in that. obviously that one there, all those sort of things. You can do a whole load of them. You can also go with joins, etc. Obviously, depending on the complexity of your line. I've just gone for a basic line. You could make far more complicated lines than this, multiple lines, multiple different points or nodes for your path or curve. Okay, also you can change the alignment, so you can click there and change that. Obviously, no effect there. But let's just quickly go and add an arrow. You can add an arrow as well, so you can get a lovely mesh arrow effect. But there is this, the dash line style. So just click there, and then you can see you've got this. And you can see now you've still got your mesh. Now the colours and everything, all are still as before, because it's just that grid on top of that stroke. And you can then just change the settings here. You can see you get circular designs. You can reduce it down there, maybe make it just obviously enter a value 0.2, etc. Or 7 if you want. There, let's put some space in and just tap off there. And you can, of course, add more or less depending on the settings. You've also got the phase here, which you can change and tweak and move around. So a number of different designs can be created with this line approach, and you can change their line width. And as you do that, you can see you bring more of them back in again. And of course, you can create a lot of variety. Please check my videos on how to use the dash line style. Okay, so once you've got this, you've got your mesh. You can still modify it even now. Again, just go over here to the fill tool, and you can then manipulate it. And again, you'll notice what happens. This is something to always be aware of, and it's something I always forget quite often, is it needs to be set again to the context to stroke. Please, Affinity, please add a stroke tool or make it more consistent where you're working with stroke. It should just keep it on stroke instead of putting it back to fill each and every time. That would be really nice. But you can still see you can manipulate this and modify this. I'm not saying it's perfect. I have had a few crashes where I've made slightly complex designs. Sometimes it's gone very strange and it's generated like literally an infinite mesh. Don't know what happens, don't know why it does it, but it does seem to go slightly a bit odd. So I'd suggest, of course, if you're doing things like this, maybe, but just back up your work, save it. Okay, so we've got this design. You can, of course, use it for a few things as well. It would be a bit odd, just a straight line with some colour. Well, what you can do, you can obviously move it, you can duplicate it, hold down the Alt or Option key, and you can just drag. So you can just drag and create that, and then create another one. So you can duplicate very quickly. You can also then select like that, press Return or Enter on the keyboard, and then you can manipulate this as well. So let's just go here and duplicate, and you can see then number of copies, and you can change horizontal, and you can see you can create something like that. A variety of different designs you can create with these dots and dashes, maybe a brick fill design, etc. And click OK. Let's just undo that and undo those as well. I just want the one again. What you can also do is you can add layer effects to them. So with this, just go to Layers panel. In the Layers panel, you can go to Click Effects, and then you can just go here to 3D, and you can just change that. And you can see now you've got a 3D line, and you sort of 3D anyway. It's not actual 3D, but you've got a bit of a raise there in the design. And again, you can use that with effects and much, much more. You can also use a stroke with a shape. So I'm just going to go over here, and I could select any shape, but I'm going to go with the ellipse. Creates a nice design, and you can see now I've got just this filled circle. Well, I can go down here, and you can see I can set the colours to anything I want. I can also set the size. I can also set it to be a mesh as well. So let's then go over here, select the fill tool with that selected, and then down here you've got type, and you can go and select mesh. Straight away you get this grid. Now you'll straight away see there's a problem. The problem being that the mesh is actually slightly smaller than the actual circle. You can, of course, go over here and you can just click here and drag to make it a bit bigger so it actually gets covered entirely. That's one option. I'm just going to undo there. But another way of doing that is just make certain the stroke is just inside and not outside of the actual line. Now, I'm just going to go with this. So with this, I can now just go and change the point. So I'm just going to select that one. And as before, just go to swatches. That's the easiest way, and change the color. So I'm just going to go with, say, blue. And you can see straight away the problem. It's applying it to the fill. It always defaults to the fill. Even if you've been using the stroke all the time, it will always just reset it back. So go to context in this toolbar here, and then you can set it to mesh. Let's just set that. The stroke and mesh need to be set there. And now, exact same problem as well. It's still cut off there. You can set that and then change it to green. And now you can see what happens. You get this slight variation in color. So I can go here and I can just change the color there and then go to this one and I can make it blue, and you can see very subtle. And then I can select this one, obviously, or multiple, just drag over all of them, simply drag, and then change that to purple. And now you can see you've got this colorful design. Well, as mentioned, you can just simply drag this out, and I'm going to drag this out like this. It is a pity that you can't set the mesh to apply to the entire size of the document instead of just to the actual selected shape layer, because this is a vector design. It can be any size. So you can then move this out. It just takes a few seconds just to quickly drag and give it the whole range. But it does mean, of course, the grid is no longer particularly in a square shape. And if you want to keep it like that, sometimes that's useful. It's probably not ideal. But as mentioned, you can change it to go inside and it won't then cut off at that point. But again, you can then go to here and let's just drag over these and then change the color. So now blue, and you can see you can create very quickly a lovely circular design with multiple colors. And you can do as before with this. You can go again, fill tool selected. You can just double click anywhere. You don't have to click on the actual line. So double click and you can see now you've got another one, and I can go, say, put that to red. I can double click, say, here, and I can make that orange and so on. Double click there and green. And you can see I can build up a very colourful design. Let's just quickly double click there and go with that. Now you can also just drag over, say, a whole line like that, horizontal, and just change it, say, to blue. So you could get a nice sort of shine or sort of unusual sort of whiteness or whatever, or blue in this case, across that entire line. And you can do it down here, say. So select that and maybe go for white. So you can see you can get a nice shine on that if you want to do that. Creates nice metallic effects very quickly. Now, what you can also do, I'm just going to go here now to the move tool, and I can resize this. I can increase the size like this. I can then squeeze it in. Now, if I squeeze it in, you'll notice what happens. It starts to look a bit ungainly. It's not ideal. You might not want to do that. You might want to create this design first, then apply it as a mesh, and hopefully that will make it more reasonable. But you can see you can stretch it out. Now it's a circle. You can, if you want, and you want to convert it, you can convert this circle into curves. So then just go to right click and you've got convert to curves. That's all you need to do, convert to curves. So select that. And now it's no longer a circle. You suddenly, if you go to layers, you can see it's become a curve. It was before that, it was an ellipse. But it does mean you can click here and you can change it. So you can tweak it, maybe create a square frame like design, because you can add all kinds of points to it and tweak it. So if you want to, you can just click there and drag this out, click there and drag this out. Now you'll see as you go beyond the mesh again, and the mesh is still there, but you can't see it because I'm not selecting that tool. You can see it goes beyond it, and you'd have to extend the size again if you want to get the mesh to match correctly. So let's just undo. Just want to undo that back to a circular design. So there's a circular design. Well, what you can also do is you can expand this as well. So how to expand? Well, with this selected, needs to be selected, just right click and then just go down here to expand stroke. So select that and then you'll get this filled design. and you can then manipulate it. So you can manipulate it and drag, modify it, and all kinds of different things. However, let's just go back to the fill tool, and you can still see you've still got your mesh and you can still manipulate it. So let's just move this up and down. But now the context is actually to be used with the fill, not the stroke. So you can just drag this around, move it and tweak it, all kinds of different ways. Please check out my other video on how to use the fill and various curves. Also, of course, what you can do, let's just go up here. You can then, with this selected, maybe just go here to layer effects. Just go down the bottom of the layers panel. There's a little effects. Just click that. And then you can go to bevel emboss. And you can say, just change that. Or maybe click to 3D and maybe change that. And then you can see you get all kinds of designs. Now you'll notice if I just drag this around, there's also this. That was the fill. When you've done expand, of course, that's still left over. So let's just remove that. So you've got this design now. And of course, you can tweak this and modify this. Again, using this fill, you've got this. But you can also add a stroke to this as well. How to add a stroke to it? Well, all you need to do, of course, with this selected, the move tool, just go down here. You notice you've got here, there's nothing on it at the moment, but you can change the color. And also you change again, click here, so you can expand this out and you can see expands like that. You can click here and you can then do the alignment, so you can just change that, maybe get something like that. And then, of course, what you can also do, go here again, you've got the fill tool selected, you've got this, of course, applied, but you can go again back to the stroke. So now with the stroke, go down here to mesh. And now you can see you've got the same as before. You can now add colours to this. And again, still same problem, unfortunately. You can drag these out so you can see the entire circle. I know that's pretty weird. It's slightly frustrating. I wish it would not do that, but it seems to be designed that way. So that's how it works. And you can just drag this out and just drag this out. And again, you can change the colours. You can just, again, double click. Add an additional one, and then again go to swatches, easiest way, just change that to blue, and you can see now you get this blue added there. Or double click here and maybe go and change it to green and so on. So double click there and maybe go for white, double click there and go for orange and so on. You can build up quite a complex, colourful design using this approach. And again, let's just now go back to the move tool. And so this design, it can be used like this, but it can also be duplicated as well. The key thing is, make sure you've got the move tool selected. With the move tool selected, press return or enter on the keyboard. This panel will pop up and you can then just go here, duplicate, and number of copies. Let's just increase that, say to 12, and then scale. You can reduce this down. You can see you get that sort of effect, or you can maybe use rotation. So rotation there. And you can see you get that sort of effect. You can also combine it with blend modes. So let's just select all of those and then go to layers. And instead of normal, you can run through lighten, darken, difference to create some truly weird and wonderful, colourful designs with that mesh feel as well as stroke mesh as well. You can also use the mesh with strokes via the swatches panel. In a previous video, I said that meshes can't be saved. Well, they can be saved if you're using them as a fill. But if you're using the stroke, I've got a stroke here, and if I go now to swatches panel, and I'm just going to select the mesh swatches, I created that category. You can create categories for these via this. Just go down here, add application palette. That's all you need to do, add application palette, and it will save it. A new category there, or palette, I should say. However, if you want to save, you can click here, but it will only save fills. If you've got here, like here, a stroke, that cannot be saved, but you can use it. So with this selected, and you need to go over here again to this fill tool, with fill tool selected. With that, make certain that you go down here to the context toolbar here. Don't use fill, because if you use fill, it'll do the wrong thing. just go with stroke. So stroke. With stroke now, you can then see you've got this. You can then simply just click here and it's applied. Now, again, unfortunately what happens, it does exactly the same as before. It does actually resize that. So what you need to do is simply just click and drag out and pull out again to get that colourful effect from those swatches. So you can quickly get it again. And it's a bit fiddly. I hope that they change that and actually cover it so it's outside and not obviously cutting it off. It's slightly odd when it does that. But there you have this colourful design, which again you can see there, that's created from this. But as mentioned, you cannot use this, you know, tweak it, change the mesh, etc., and then save that to the swatches. It only works if you hover over here. You'll notice it does say add current fill to palette. It would be nice if they added a current stroke to the swatches. I'm not certain why that was left off, but you can do fill, but not, unfortunately, stroke, which is slightly annoying. If you work with just the strokes and you create designs, how to actually save them to here. I'm certain there's a way around that, but it's just slightly frustrating. However, you got it, you can apply it. And of course, if you've got hundreds of these designs, you can just store them away, the swatches, and then just apply it over and over again. If you want to create a slightly more complex design than you get from the basic mesh, well, you can combine them, and you can do that via the appearance panel. Appearance panel is over here, and you can find it in the window and just down to vector and appearance. With that, you can see you've got this stroke. You've got obviously no fill there. It's just set to blank. But the stroke, I can simply select that. And that's the one here. It's got this colourful design. You can see it here. You can right click and you've got the option for duplicate. So duplicate. And with that, you've got two now, two strokes. You can, of course, click here, change this if you want. You can change the size. Obviously, it's exactly the same, so it's not going to have any real effect. But you can also, again, just go over here to the fill tool. Again, you have to change the context down here to stroke. It always defaults it back to that. So stroke, and you've got that. That is independent of this one. So you use this one you're working on. You can see there, you can just change the colours. So let's just go and change things. So I'm just going to just drag this up. I can do this. I can move these all around. And you can see as I move that around, you can see the red coming through there, the purple, and maybe let's just go over again to swatches, and I'm going to go for the colours. This is the easiest way, just change the colours, I think. Just go to green and double click and put yellow or something lime-ish colour there, and double click over there, maybe go for a blue, and so on. So you could build up a sort of different colourful design there. So you've got that. Obviously, you vary it in the colours. But once you've got this, of course, one is on top of the other. So you can't see the changes. So let's just go over here. And now what I can do, I can just go this one. Instead of normal, I can run through this. So darken and click there. And you can see as I go through, maybe difference. So difference is obviously a real high impact one, but you can go for negation. That's another one as well. And you can see now you've got this more slightly colourful scene than before. So you can add 3, 4, 5 different sets, and you can also go to this one. So just click this one. And now one thing you'll notice, if I click here, it goes back to the mesh for that. It doesn't seem to reset it straight away. So when you go onto it first, it looks like you've just got the one mesh. You've actually got multiple meshes with this. It just happens to not refresh it. And you can then go over here and you can then obviously move the colours here. And you can see then you get this lovely line effect down there. And you can just drag this up and you can create maybe some sort of like lovely depths or 3D effects with this way of doing this. And you can just maybe push that there, and so on. You can create all kinds, and you can push that one out there like that to create different ring-like designs. And this can be applied to all kinds of different shapes. It doesn't have to be just this. It could be probably text as well, and so on. So a whole load, or even lines as well, just basic lines can be used with this technique. And as mentioned, you can really create some super complex designs. If you want to store these, you've got these, you're happy with your design, you can always go here. You've got there, window, vector, and styles. And you can store them away in styles, so you can reuse them at any point. If you've got something you think, yes, this is a great design. Another option, just save it to your assets panel. That's another way of doing it. But of course, if you've created a style, it means you can then apply it to something else again. So you've got a star or something, you can then just simply click that in the styles panel and it will apply it. What if you want a lovely frame design? Well, you can create a rectangle or square. Simply just go over here and with the rectangle tool, just create this. With that, you can got the move tool selected, go down here, and you can increase the size. Let's make it so you can really see it. So let's just increase the size there. What you can also do is go here, just click here, and now you go here with the size, let's align. You can change that, so you can go for this one or that one. I'm going to go with this one. See there, align stroke to inside. Use that, and now with this, you can also click here, and you can see you can create a slightly unusual dash design. Of course, there's some options here, so you can just change this. Maybe go with something like that. I'm just going to go very, very basic variation. You can see I move that around, increase that, decrease it, and you create something like that. Of course, you could just align, have this or that, up to you, or that one. But I'm going to go with that one. Well, once you've got it, you can do the mesh, apply the mesh again. So I'm just going to go over here, select the fill tool. Again, go down to context. As mentioned, always puts it back to fill. It would be nice if it just kept it a stroke, but it puts it to fill. And then go to type, and then go to mesh. Now, once you've got that, what you can then do is you can then, of course, just use this in the center if you want to select one. So maybe go green there, so select that one. And you can set multiple. So let's just drag over all of them and set them all to green. So you can create a lovely orange frame. And of course, let's just quickly go to select the move tool. And I'm just going to go over to layers quickly. And I'm just going to click effects. So effects, go for 3D, just so you can give a bit of depth there. So you can see, create a very quick frame, close. But I can still continue with that. So let's just go back to the fill tool. So there's the fill tool selected there. Again, let's put it back to fill. Lovely feature. Stroke. And again, you've got your mesh. And you can see you could go along there, just drag down the edge there, go to swatches, and maybe have a red. You have a red design, or maybe blue, and so on. Or maybe go down this side. You might want to create a lovely green on that side. Maybe go down that side and go with red, and go down this side. I don't know what other colour. Let's go for another colour, pink, whatever. So you can see you can build up a very quick design. And of course, you can vary this dash design, change the spacing, etc. So all loads of different variations can be made here. But also, if you want, you can always go here, and I'm just going to click on this, just drag this out. Because what I can do, I can, of course, make the frame actually a bit better than that. So I can just drag this out, and you see as you change it, of course, you drift it away. Of course, if you drift inwards, you're going to ruin it. But if you go outwards, you can. A pity there's no sort of extend feature, or push it out, sort of extend it out. It would be nice. But you can manually do it, or change the spacing. Again, presets would be a lovely addition. But you can see you've got that. Well, again, you can always go to the move tool. With the move tool selected now, I can click here. And again, I can then go here, and I'm just going to change this, and you can see then I've got that design. And again, I can change these, I can modify these settings. Let's just quickly drag there, and you can see build up a different frames very quickly. Maybe just circular dots. You can change the width there, so you can get a lovely dot design just by changing the width, changing the different settings down here. You've still got these colors. So again, let's just go to the fill tool, set again to stroke. And you've got this mesh, and you can always double click and add another one there, double click there, and maybe just change colours, green, blue, and maybe change that one to pink, and so on. You can see you can build up quite a complex frame design very easily. And of course you can combine this multiple times, so you could create multiple layers. I'm just going to go there with that colour and green, and again double click there, and you've got all those lines. So let's just go there, change that, and you see I'm doing this. Whoops, you can always undo, so you just get rid of it, select that, and again change that one, and finally the blue there. So you've got slightly more colourful design around the edge there. And then of course there's the move tool selected. With the move tool selected, you can press return or enter. You can do that all the time with anything that's selected. So press return or enter, and you've got this move duplicate. Go here to duplicate, and now you've got scale. So let's just scale, and I'm just going to go for let's go for scale 93, number of copies. Let's just go down. You can see as you do that, it goes through. Obviously that doesn't look much like a frame by that point, but if you leave it about 93 and 2, you get something like that. Maybe add some rotation. All kinds of variations can be created with this. Maybe set different stroke designs for each of these layers, or just simply hold down the Alt Option key and duplicate the design. And you can see then you've got that. You can resize it, move around, and so on to create all kinds of different designs, frame designs with that mesh effect. You can also use the strokes with the mesh with things like glitch effects, things that have been added to Affinity 3. So I've got this path, just a basic line that I've created, and what I can do again, go over here to the fill tool, set the context to stroke, go down here for the type and set it to mesh. And then you get these points, and again select those, select one there, and I'm just going to go with colour. And oh, nope, swatches doesn't seem to work for some weird reason. It doesn't change the colour. So select that one, select that. You could of course select multiple, and you can add additional ones. So if you want to, just double click and you can add another one there, double click there, and add another one there. Now at this point, of course, you can't see it, so just drag out and you can actually see it. I think it creates quite a nice sort of tubular effect, which you can just maybe go like that, maybe add that, maybe a wavy design. So you could create a wave-like effect. Maybe just double click there. That's another option. So you could create those kind of things as well. So those are different things. But what you can also do is use it with the glitch effect. So let's just finish this off. So I'm just going to drag this out. Oh, one thing occasionally I notice, if you don't do it right, double click there, and I'm just going to drag this out. You get this black effect over here. It's very strange, but I did notice occasionally it doesn't seem to work in exactly the way that you think it should. So something like that. Very strange. I'm not certain why it's not doing that exactly right. However, once you've got that, you've got this design, and of course you can resize it. Let's just increase the size here, and now I can apply the glitch effect to it. I could apply it like this, or I could convert it into a curve and expand the stroke. That's another option, but you don't need to do. Let's just go here and go over to Pixel, and I can go down to New Live Filter Layer and go down to Distort and Glitch. I could just use the standard filter, perfectly reasonable, but I'm going to use Glitch. So now with Glitch, it's just applied on top, so you can tweak it and it's still live. So that's the best thing, is that you can change your mind. And I'm going to go with, maybe go with Ripple. So Ripple, change the glitch strength, and you can see now you get this lovely weird sort of, I don't know, retro 60s look. I think that's quite a nice thing. Maybe go with waves. You can see waves, you can just create. Now I find the wave effect could be much nicer. I don't know why they didn't do it like the Photoshop wave feature. Affinity's wave is a bit hard to see, the wave, and I think it's probably not in the right direction maybe. But warp, you could just try different ones. You can see them warping. You've got this warping effect, and you can combine them. Of course, you can make multiple layers. Light streaks is another one that creates quite a surreal kind of effect. With that, again, you can change the colours of the mesh. So you've got this lovely sort of weird light streak effect, and vertical strength. You can change that. You can see and create some interesting designs that way, and it's still live. So you can always go back to it. So go to layers, expand this out. You can see you've got the glitch, and you can always there select it and duplicate to create an additional glitch and modify that. So click there, brings this panel up, and you've got loads of other options. So channel flip, or maybe blast, aberration even. You can see, get some interesting sort of color effect added on top of that previous glitch effect, plus the mesh as well. And you can close it. Now, of course, it's just a standard design there, which you can then go and modify it. So just go over here to Node Tool, and with Node Tool, you can select and you can see. Now, if you drag it beyond, you can see what happens. Anytime you do that, you have to go over here to the Fill Tool and extend it. So Fill Tool, again, makes certain it's stroke. And you can see you've got this mesh, and you can just tweak this out and drag it out and so on. It does require a little bit of resetting if you modify the design in a particular way. Another thing, when you've got something like this, what you can do, you can hold down the Alt or Option key if you've got the Move tool selected, and you just duplicate it. So just make certain you actually select the actual curve, and there it is. You can just duplicate that. And you can repeat that, of course. You can just hold it again, drag it up there, drag it there. You can see you can create quite a surreal design very quickly with multiple layers, something like that. Again, a very sort of weird 60s retro look that's very quickly created with that mesh. You can also use the mesh with text. That is the stroke for text. Now, for some weird reason, if you go down to this context toolbar, there is no option here for the stroke. I do not know why, but it's weird that it doesn't appear. However, let's just go down to a tool that actually will allow it. You can see there the rectangle. I've just selected the rectangle tool. And now you can see it here. So I can just click here and I can just change the color. And also I can click here and just change it so you can actually see it like that. And of course you can vary it, you can make it inside, outside, etc., or centrally align it. So once you've got that, you can do exactly the same as we've just been doing with the mesh. So just again, let's just get that bit bigger. And now go to the Fill Tool. So Fill Tool, there it is, selected. And again, make certain you use stroke. So context, set the stroke. And text. That's got the text there. And instead of solid, I'm going to go down to mesh. So now I've got the mesh. And I can go exactly the same as before. I can select that one. Let's just go to the swatches and orange. You can then create a lovely sort of orange glow, sort of lighting down. Or maybe go here and maybe blue that way. And over this side, you could maybe select all of those and go for green and so on. So you can build up quite a colourful stroke design. As before, you could use the appearance panel. So again, window, vector and appearance. And you've got here. Now, weirdly, it seems to suggest that this stroke is not actually a mesh. It's just got a solid colour. But you should be able to add multiple to create some more interesting effects and designs that way. But one good thing about this is that you'll notice when you've got the Fill Tool there selected, the actual range does mean it doesn't get chopped off, which is really good. But let's again go here, select this, get to the stroke, and you can, if you want, simply pull this out and drag this out and drag out the area if you extend it maybe with other various things and changes that you make. And of course, exactly the same as before, you can double click and you can change the green there. So you can really build up a very complex, colourful design there. Maybe just double click there. Let's go for blue, maybe double click there and go for blue there. So you can see you can build up sort of linear effects. Maybe just click there, maybe select a whole range of them. So you could select more than that and then go there and click there and you can see, get that and so on. Whole load of different colourful designs for text can be added. And of course, it's just a layer, which you can then go over to the layers panel. With the layer panel there, go down to effects, click there, and you can go for, say, 3D, and let's just change the radius. And then you get this lovely 3D effect along with that mesh applied to a stroke. You can also use mesh in the Vector Studio as well. So you just go here to Vector. Now, of course, in Affinity 3, you can move the tools around. You don't need to leave them in the Vector. You can, of course, use them in the pixel. It's just been split up in a particular way. I think the path brush would be nice to be in pixel as well. But still, if you haven't got it there, what you can do, where is it? Let's just go down here. And with all these brushes, maybe it shouldn't be in the other one, because you can get a lot of brushes in Affinity 3. So I've got here the brush tool selected, and I can select a brush. Let's just go and apply it. And you can see I've just randomly chosen that one. Perfectly reasonable. And with this, I can resize it. Let's just go down here, context toolbar again. You can just change this, maybe make it a bit more visible like that. You don't have to use this. You could use it like on a circle as well, or any other shapes. You can create some truly lovely designs using this. But what you can also do is now, exactly the same as before, you can go over here. You've got this, the fill tool is in the Vector Studio as well. Exactly the same. So fill tool, got the context toolbar down here, go to fill. You want to set it to stroke again, the context. Go here, and with this, you can go down here to mesh. So select mesh. Now, nothing appears here. Well, what you can do, you can go here and exactly the same as before, select that, and then go to the swatches, which you can find in Window and General and Swatches. And where are the swatches over here? Oh, they're over here in this one. So let's just drag this over here, and you can see I can change the color. And now you can see what happens. I've just got this nice colorful bit of that past brush appear there. But I can select this one, say, I'm selecting that one, pink, and you can see now I've got that. And I can go down this one, let's just select that, orange, and go and select the ones down the bottom, go with red, and I can select the ones on top. Let's just select that, blue, say. So you can see you can actually build up quite a colourful design, meshes, using meshes on the pass brush. And this of course works with other designs as well. Maybe you've got photos and designs you could add on top to create variations of colour like this. Well, exactly the same as before, you can select, because of course the pass brush extended beyond that, it doesn't get exactly right. So let's just drag this out so you can actually see the entire pass brush. And of course you can always manipulate it using the node tool. So the node tool, you can modify this. You can see here the curve. Here's the curve. You can change it. You can reposition it, warp it, distort it, all kinds of different things. But it does mean you've got this full extended here, well, near enough anyway. If I just drag it down here, unfortunately doesn't seem to extend to the correct level. It's a pity, but double click and you can see then I've got that, and I can just, and it actually sets it as grey. I don't know why there, but you can put it to green, or double click here and blue, and double click at particular parts. So you can actually change that design super easy, very quickly, by just changing the colours at individual positions. So let's just go down there and select a different one, pink, double click there. Let's just get a blue there, and so on. You can see you can create subtle changes to this pass brush. And again, just close that. You can see there, you've got your pass brush there. Now, of course, you've got here, got that selected. You can turn around and say, oh, you know what? I don't want that one. I want a different one. So let's just go and select something else. Hopefully it will actually, a splat. Let's just go for splat. So there you can see it. Now you've got the same colours applied to that. You can click here and just increase the size. And you can see you've got this lovely design here. And again, you can tweak it, say with Surfer. You can see you've got the same colour applied there. And again, you can increase the size. You've got all those colours rippled through that. And you can move it, reposition it. And as mentioned, you can use the node tool. It's up here, node tool. Here's the node tool. And you can see you've got these points, and you can, of course, tweak it, move it around. But as you change it, you'll notice the colours change because it's applied, the mesh is on top. So it will follow whatever colours over there, it will change. So it will change there, it will go more different colours. I don't remember the colour. And likewise, if I move that around, you can see that goes to that colour and so on. You can move it around to create different colour effects. Again, go here to the move tool. So move tool selected. I can then just press return or enter on the keyboard. And I've got this. And I can then go here, duplicate. And then I can say number of copies. Let's say it's 8 or 9, and rotation. You can see then I can create a super colourful design very quickly. And of course I can modify the origin point of this, tweak that, change number copy all the way through. You get a lovely circular effect which is using this path brush, but also using all those colours in the mesh. And you can click OK, and there you've got that design, all the curves, and you can modify them, of course, independently then. So that's a run through of mesh applied as a stroke. Hope you found this of interest. Any thoughts, questions, any things you've noticed? I will point out that I found this probably one of the most sort of glitchy areas of Affinity 3. There was a few places, a few being where it did crash. So I'm not saying it's perfect yet. There are definitely a few things that it falls over on. So be aware of that when you're using it. It's a powerful feature, but it can crash. And please put in the comments below if you've had similar problems with this stroke feature as well. It'd be really great to know. And also you found other things as well. It's always wonderful to hear of other ideas that maybe could be used with this sort of feature in Affinity 3. Bye.